Hey there, my name is Cole Adams, and you are watching the best college basketball podcast out there that covers the entire sport of college basketball, brackets, bubbles, and bid stealers. Now, here are your hosts, Sam Fetterman and Jonathan Lidskin.
Season 6, Episode 70 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. I am Sam Fetterman. That is Jonathan Lidskin. Jonathan, how are you doing today, this afternoon, as we talk college basketball?
I'm good, Sam. Episode 70. Wow.
Yeah, it's so weird because we do we do so many off-season episodes these days. And the in-season episodes, because the off-season is so long and we can kind of do like 3 in a day because we're doing 3 different things of content within a day.
Correct.
During the regular season, I think the first pod of the regular season. Hold on 1 sec. I'm about to sneeze. Never mind.
False
I
alarm.
might. But I think the first pod of the regular season, that first week, was 48.
Okay.
Yeah, 48 was opening week. 47 was Christmas Eve with Jack Church, the great Jack Church, and Matthew Winnick as well. So, Jonathan, we are now here on episode 70. So we've done about 23 or so in season. And we are less than 2 months, Jonathan, from Selection Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I think about two months from now, we'll be playing NCAA tournament games.
Yeah, so that means a couple things. The first thing that I want it to mean is that Jonathan and I are definitely going to start doing some bracketology stuff soon on by ourselves. And that's one thing.
2 months from tomorrow is 1 month from 2 months from today.
Yesterday?
2 months from tomorrow is the start of the first four.
So 2 months from yesterday is Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and teams have played almost 20 games. I think there's probably some teams out there that are up at 19, maybe 20 games at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Given what the state of their league is and the way their schedule works. So teams have played a lot of games. We now know a lot about these teams, but I think that there are a couple teams that we'll start the show with that we will need to learn more about over the next couple weeks and how they're trending towards the NCAA tournament, towards March Madness. That's one thing that this means. And another thing is that we've got Saturday Night Live tomorrow with Michael DeRosa.
Yeah, second Saturday Night Live of the year. Some of my personal favorite shows that we do just because of entertainment value. Not to say the analysis isn't top tier, because when DeRosa comes on, it always is. But yeah,
the bubble of the year. The bubble of the year.
He is the bubble of the year after all. But when DeRosa comes on, I would say that there's just
it's a different energy.
I said this to you the other day. It's our Sunday night Simmons Russillo pods.
Yeah. All right, Jonathan.
Just have a vibe.
So we are going to start this pod in Nashville, where we have game of the day in the SEC. The two best teams by KenPom in the SEC are Florida and Vanderbilt. Both of these teams are top 20 in offense and top 20 in defense. These teams are separated by 1 spot on KenPom. Florida is 10th. Vanderbilt is 11th. The Gators started 5-4. They are 7-1 since. The only loss is by 2 to Missouri, and Todd Golden has never won an SEC opener. The Gators have dropped 90.
He has also won one SEC regular season game against Dennis Gates.
Yeah. So Florida is scoring at a really high rate right now. They scored 96, 91, and 92 in the last 3. The only game in that stretch since December 17th of their last 7 games they have not scored at least 90 points is that Mizzou game. If you go back to the 13th of December, which is what I'm going to do right now, sorting some data on barttorvik.com, which is the day of that George Washington game, they are at a 125 adjusted offensive rating,
Mhm.
with the number one offensive rebounding team in the country. That is something that they have, that they show. They are one of the very best, if not the best, rebounding teams in the sport. Vanderbilt, in my eyes, is still one of the best teams in the country, is still a national title contender. But what happened in Vanderbilt's last game that they hadn't quite seen yet was they ran into a team that matched them athletically and gave them fits size wise, and Texas cleaned the glass. Texas got a 44% offensive rebounding rate, and Texas allowed a 24% offensive rebounding rate. So I think that this is maybe I wouldn't say rebounding is necessarily a like major Vanderbilt weakness. I just think that when in the context of some of the best teams in college basketball, it's something that some of the more athletic, not more athletic, some of the teams that have a little bit more size in the front court and a little bit more athleticism in the front court in terms of using that size can exploit. And that's why I think Florida is a really bad matchup for Vanderbilt. And I think the Gators have the upper hand physically in this game because Ruben Chinyelu and Alex Condon give them that edge as rebounders. And Micah Hamlockton, when he plays, gives them that edge as a rebounder. Thomas Houck is really physical. I do think they'll have kind of their ways to try and guard these guys. I don't know if they'll be effective. I think this could be a really high scoring game. And I think it probably will be in the 80s. I just think that Florida will give themselves more chances to have more shots at this one.
Yeah, agreed. I think you can be a good rebounding team without being super tall, which like Vanderbilt is. Like they defensive rebound pretty well for a team that plays like nobody over 6'10", and that's Jalen Washington. But this Florida team is a different animal on the glass, and I think that alone gives them the edge. Not to mention like the one thing that I think you could point to that like Vandy does poorly, like consistently, is they foul a lot, and those fouls tend to be shooting fouls. So I think if Florida can attack inside and get to the line, and Chinyulu's not awful from the line like he normally is, and the rest of their guys make their free throws, like I think Florida can win this one in the margins, like you kind of said, Sam.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I also think that you look at the Florida, though, I will say, has not been a good ball screen defense this year. And Vanderbilt, we know, they love to run some of their actions out of those ball screens. And I do think that if Vanderbilt's first shots can be efficient and good looks, maybe they won't need to be an offensive rebounding. Yeah, Vanderbilt 96th percentile in pick and roll frequency, 95th percentile in pick and roll efficiency. Florida's defense is, I believe, 19th percentile in pick and roll defense. And that's bad for what, because I just think Florida's guards are not very good defensively. That we've been over that over the course of the year. Boogie Flan has been playing better offensively as of late. These last two games have probably been his two best in a Gator uniform, and that's huge for them. 12 assists to 3 turnovers in those games. He's averaging 19 points in those games. That's big for them, but I still don't think he's a very good defender. And I definitely don't think Xavier Lee, who got picked on in the Ivy League as a defender, is a good defender. So I think that if Vanderbilt can win this game, it'll be because they pick apart the ball screen defense for Florida, which is probably their weakness defensively, their guards, and kind of attack those, get the mismatches they need, and be able to attack with pace and get efficient first shots, because that's something they're going to need. But as we've mentioned, also with Vanderbilt, their average 2-point distance offensively, they're not getting the most efficient first shots, even though they're shooting really well from two. They do that very well. Their average 2-point distance is pretty far from the basket. And I do think Florida has the ability to keep you out of the lane with their size and their athleticism. So I'm very curious to see how that matchup works out, because I think that some of the pick and roll defense type stuff can offset each other with that mix. And at the end of the day, Vanderbilt's best players this year are its guards, are Tyler Tanner and Duke Miles. Florida's best players are its bigs and its wings. And I wonder how that plays out on a January Saturday. I wonder how that plays out on a March Saturday. If these two end up playing in, say, the SEC championship or semifinals, or if they make it, if they make a run, we'll have to see. I think Florida gets the matchup edge right now in this game, and I think they're playing some really, really good basketball. I sounded the alarm bells early in the year on the Gators, and I still felt at the time as though I was right to sound those alarm bells. I think they have figured it out. They're playing a much better brand of basketball right now. They've leaned in to what they are. And as the guards slowly start to come along, if you get a little more from Boogie Fland, as they have, and who knows if they're going to get good production out of Xavier Lee really at any point. But he was good kind of in their non-con run up to the Mizzou game, and then has kind of struggled, really not good in conference play. 42 true shooting percentage on 18% usage, but it's 18% usage. And their best players are, as I've mentioned, they're bigs and wings, and they have different usage rates that they can throw at you in different spots.
Yeah, we've gone over this a bunch, so I don't want to stick on this too long, but I do have a couple more points. I think that like there are some matchup advantages here for Vandy. Like two things that Florida is going to make you do is like they're going to make you take long twos, which you mentioned Vandy's fine doing it. Like they'll take floaters, they'll take mid-range twos, and Vandy's best chance is also playing in transition here. Like you don't want to get into a half-court game with this Florida team. Just isn't going to favor you. And Vandy does like to play relatively fast. So I think if they can do those two things, they'll come out with a win. However, I will give the edge to Florida here. I just think they'll be able to get enough offensive rebounds and make Vandy take enough tough shots to get out of here with a win.
Oh, man. Do you know what the discourse is going to be after this game if Florida wins?
The Vandy fraud stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of natural. But, like, we can do that with anyone after they lose.
How much are you willing to subscribe to any of that? Especially because their next game after that is at Arkansas. If they could, theoretically here, go and lose 3 in a row and be 16-3 when we talk on next Tuesday night, assuming there is a pod next Tuesday night, that would be a really interesting setup for where we are, for where we would be at that point.
I mean, it depends how you want to look at it, because like I'm not subscribing to this whole Vanderbilt to fraud thing.
Oh, I don't either. It's just that I said last night I think Vanderbilt's a national title contender. I don't think they've done anything to prove that they're not a national title contender, which is kind of why I think they're a national title contender right now.
There's a difference. There's a difference between being a fraud and being a 4 seed. Like if Vandy's a 4 seed, fine. Like that's a great year. You're very much in the mix to get to the Final Four, play in a regional final, as they've kind of shown this year.
Yeah, I think Vandy's seed range is probably 2 to 4, 2 to 5. Would be surprised at this point
and
if the SEC
counterpoint is
would be surprised at this point if the SEC got any 1 seed.
Yeah,
and it's not necessarily an indictment on the SEC, more so as it is I think the top of the sport when you look at your Michigan. Like, okay, who are your natural 1 seed contenders right now?
Michigan's going to get a 1 seed there.
Arizona, Iowa State, Purdue, UConn, Duke. Houston, Nebraska, BYU probably has a better resume. Actually, do they have a better resume than Vanderbilt right now? I don't know, but they'll have. So there's just so many 1 seed contenders, and Vanderbilt is the SEC team that right now kind of has the cleanest looking resume, considering they have fewest losses by a lot. Every other team in the SEC besides Georgia has at least 4, and Georgia is 33rd in KenPom and has now lost at home to Mississippi. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I think the SEC is going to kind of beat each other up. You're going to have a lot of teams with 9 or 10 or 11 losses overall heading into Selection Sunday that are going to get 6 or 7 seeds. Vanderbilt might have 7 losses or 8 losses overall, and they get a 4 seed or a 3 seed, or they might have 4 losses or 5 losses and they're a 2 seed, just because there's, say, just a couple teams like an Arizona has 2 losses or maybe 3, and they have that resume that they have, or a Houston or a Duke or whatever. A UConn has, as we've mentioned, a chance to run into the NCAA tournament at 33-1, which again, I don't think anyone is expecting to happen, but like there's a much more realistic chance of that than Vanderbilt running into the NCAA tournament at 33-1.
Correct. I think the discussion here is not whether, the SEC is going to get a 1 seed.
Because it's not.
I think the discussion is like, what odds would you give me that they don't get a top 2 seed?
That's an interesting one. Yeah, and I think that's a come back to me when we kind of.
That would be very interesting after the year that the sport had last year, or the conference.
And I still think the SEC is like a really, really good league.
I'd probably say it's the 3rd best league this year.
Yeah, I would agree.
I know KenPom would disagree, but
yeah, but the reason KenPom disagrees is because what does KenPom rank its teams by?
It weights the entire conference. Also.
Yeah, the net rating of a team expected to go 500. And I think that gives a little bit too much weight to the bottom of the conference.
Correct. I don't think the top and bottom of the conference should be weighted equally. But if you were to ask me, like, which bottom 4 in a conference is the best, like, it's the SEC easily.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm with
LSU
you.
was 0-4 in league play and is 46th in KenPom. Like, you're not beating that. Like, every game in this conference is like a tough out, except for really South Carolina, probably.
All right, let's move on to the Big 12, which
rest in peace to my bank account.
Is the Big 12 the best conference in college basketball, Jonathan? I think it is.
I kind of think it's the Big 10. And like,
I think that's fair. I think the top of the Big 12 is just so good.
I know that opens up a whole can of discourse.
I think it's either the Big 10 or the Big 12. The Big 10 has a better depth of good teams. I think that the very top though and I think Michigan's great and Purdue's great, but I think that when you have Arizona, Houston, Iowa State, BYU, and then Texas Tech and Kansas, who I think both of them have a good chance to finish higher in KenPom than they are right now, I think you have a real good shot there.
On a neutral floor, this is going to maybe be controversial. I would take the Big 10's top 5 in a conference challenge against the Big 12's top 5.
Well,
give me Michigan, Purdue, Nebraska, Illinois, Michigan State over the Big 12's top 5. We haven't talked about them recently, but I still think Michigan State is really good.
Yeah, well, I think do I have them on the rundown today?
I don't even know who they play this weekend.
They play at Washington, so they're at the bottom of the rundown.
Yeah.
BYU plays Texas Tech. Again, I just said that I think the Big 12 is the best conference in the country, and I'm already questioning myself on that for what you just said. Like, you make a really good point.
Yeah,
this is just not something I really ever think about.
I've been kind of ringing the bell too of like the Big 12's bottom half of the conference is not nearly as bad as we both thought it was going to be.
All right. BYU has not played against a top 50 KenPom team since December 9th. It has also not lost a game since November 15th. Texas Tech is 3-1, and it has that win over Duke, obviously. And its one loss in Big 12 play was at Houston. Jonathan, what is the matchup that you are keeping an eye on in this basketball game?
Well, before I answer your question, Sam, I just want to point out that BYU is probably like as quiet as you can be for a 16-1 team with maybe the number 1 pick in the draft. Like,
and also their one loss is to a potential 1 seed by 2
correct,
points in November.
correct. In a game that was,
And like they won on opening night against a team that's going to make the tournament. They won 2 more games. They basically have had 4 wins in the first like month and change of the season against teams that at this point we probably would project to be in the field.
yeah, like the thing about BYU this year, and I'm going to circle back to your question here, is like they've had to win in like non-dominant ways, whereas the other teams in the country with 1 loss or 0 losses to this point have looked more dominant at times. But like that Villanova win, like you said, is aging really well. Same with the Wisconsin win, same with the Miami win, same with the Clemson win. So in terms of like matchup that I'm looking forward to here, I don't think that either of these teams' perimeter players can guard the others. Like, I don't think that. I think Rob Wright and Christian Anderson are going to be able to score at will. I think Jalen Petty could have a big game. I think Richie Saunders could have a big game. The matchup that I'm like looking forward to the most: JT Toppin versus Keba Keita, no doubt. Keita is one of the best interior defenders, rebounders in the entire country, and one of the only guys that I think physically is a good matchup for JT Toppin because he's not like super big, but his wingspan's really long and he's lower to the floor and is quicker because of that. So I'm like interested to see how they play that matchup. Like, most teams have to double Toppin. I think BYU is maybe the one of the few teams that can try to guard him single coverage and get away with it. So yeah, definitely that matchup is the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I think that that's probably the one to keep an eye on in this game. But my kind of question for you right now is, if you had to game plan against the Cougars, if you're Grant McCaslin or any Big 12 coach, what is your defensive game plan against BYU and the weapons that they have? Because I just think they have such talented scorers that like you don't really have options on how to guard them or any way to like kind of limit them. And like you can muck up a game, sure. Like you can like try and be really physical, try and do all that. But
TCU did it the other night.
But in that game, BYU still grabs 21 offensive rebounds, gets to the line for 29 free throws, comes back from a deficit in the second half, and wins that game just because their guys are more talented than you. Like DeBonsta is the number 10 player in the country in terms of fouls drawn per 40 minutes. He's going, when he touches the ball, he's trying to touch paint and he's trying to, and he can draw a foul, but he's also able to finish through that. He gets the star whistle, he gets all that. And I think that's AJ DeBonsta. Like we talked about, we like, you can say Cam Boozer is better. I think Cam Boozer is better than AJ DeBonsta, but AJ DeBonsta, the way he plays is so much more star-like in just the way that he carries himself on the basketball court as a guy that he takes the ball. He knows he's going to get fouled. He knows he's going to score on when he touches the ball. And I don't like, you don't really have an option to guard him. Is the way that I see AJ as a player.
To use kind of the Twitter words, like his foul drawing is like a very ethical way of drawing fouls. Like he's not like, trying to like bait you into following him on mid-range jump shots. He's just like going.
I mean, he's just
going into your chest. Like
he's just 6'9", 215 pounds with like good ball handling ability and gigantic paint strides.
Yeah,
like you could just see the way that he covers ground. Not even defensively, offensively, because usually you talk about a guy covering ground, you're talking about it defensively. The way AJ DeBonsta covers ground offensively with the ball in his hand is really impressive, and I just don't think there's a way you can guard him. And I still think like he's maybe not been as assertive defensively as you would have hoped. I still think that Maybe I still think he's a better 3-point shooter than he's only attempted 53s this year, Jonathan. But that's just because he can be so efficient in other ways that why take the three? Like, no one's stopping him from getting to the rim.
I also do want to also acknowledge that I think his defense and his impact defensively has improved throughout the season. Like his steal rate has gone up, his block rate has gone up a little bit. Like it's not as high as like I thought it would have been.
Yeah, he should be a stocks monster.
But like he is starting to accumulate more, and part of that is like BYU is asking so much of him offensively. They don't have to, but like when you have this 6'9", truck of a wing that can put the ball on the floor like he can, like why wouldn't you go to him as much as possible? He also just he doesn't run out of gas like ever.
Yeah, it's this team has been so much better in second halves than first halves. I think it was Brian Roth who was going to be on this show today until we had to move it up. We had to move it back to 4:00. Mm-hmm. That's all on us. I think he mentioned it and had something in his stuff about like how historic it might have been Winnick on Weekend Under Review at some point, like in late November, early December. Yeah, I think it was after the Clemson game, about their net rating swing from first half to second half.
Yeah, and you saw it again on Wednesday against TCU. Like TCU was doing everything in their power to make BYU extremely uncomfortable on the offensive end in that game. And eventually, BYU's talent took over in that game. AJ finishes with 25. Robert Wright has 15. Saunders has 18. Like those big three. Like you asked me to get back to your original question because I don't think I ever answered it. Like how would I game plan for this team? Like there's not a lot of teams that really can come up with a good answer for those three. But I think you got to be in gaps. You force them into tough shots and ball screen coverage. Like you play drop, and make them take the toughest shots possible. But like if Wright and Saunders are hitting threes and Devance's hitting his threes and other guys are hitting their threes, like there's really not a lot of good ways to plan for this offense. Like you just I think you just try to make them you keep them out of the lane because their biggest weapon is AJ getting to the basket.
Do you think at some I'm going to say this at some point in the season we're going to get like the AJ DeBonsta 3-point game? Because there has not been a game this year where he's made more than 2. He's only made 16 in 17 games this year. But like we saw this kid play in high school. We see what he does for his shot. Like there's going to be a game where he hits 5.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of saying this all year, like go out there, take your threes, make your threes. I thought there were moments early in the season where he was maybe forcing it a little too much, trying to learn the college game. But man, he's just been so good. And I feel like we haven't talked enough about BYU as a team. This is their opportunity to go into Lubbock and get like a monster win. But man, that's a really difficult place to play. AJ DeBonsta and his team, they've won their 2 games on the road. So far in in conference play, it was Utah by 5, which again, wild atmosphere. They came alive and had a big start to that second half, and their big 3 all dropped 20 in that game. Like I could see that happening again. I could see that happening on any given night for them. And for Texas Tech, again, as you mentioned, I don't think anybody can guard Christian Anderson. I don't think anybody is going to be able to guard. I don't think this team, you mentioned it, neither of these teams' guards can guard the other team's guards. And it kind of, if it's just kind of going to come down to who's going to make, I don't even know if it's who's going to make their shots. I think it's just like who's going to come through, who can win the rebound battle, who can win the turnover battle, and will Texas Tech make their free throws, because Texas Tech's not a good free throw shooting team and they don't get to the line a ton. And the other key, because Texas Tech's not a deep team, can DeBonsta get Texas Tech into foul trouble.
Yes. So a couple more things on this one before we move on. One, I give the edge to Texas Tech just because they're at home, and BYU's has been starting slow this year at times, and I just think it's tough to play from behind in an atmosphere like that, especially if Texas Tech has a huge start to the game and the crowd's really into it. The other thing I want to say is if BYU goes into Lubbock and gets a win here, and we come out of this with AJ goes for 30, BYU wins on the road. It could be one of the games we look back to at the end of the season, be this is one of the moments of the season that we're going to remember for a long time.
Okay. BYU's next 6 games. Okay, I just want to read you BYU's upcoming schedule because there are a lot of moments on tap. There are a lot of moments on tap. At Texas Tech, Utah, which is another Holy War rivalry game. Home Arizona on Big Monday on January 26th. That's a huge one. At Kansas, at Allen Fieldhouse on a Saturday at 4 p.m. on Big ESPN, the week between the conference championships and the Super Bowl. That's going to be the biggest story probably in sports that week, with the potential number 1 pick going to play against the other potential number 1 pick.
Yeah. We didn't get our Darren Peterson Cam Boozer game earlier this year either.
Yeah. So that might be the biggest story in sports that day. I don't know what else is going on. And then Oklahoma State on the road, Houston at home, Baylor away, Colorado at home, Arizona away, Iowa State home. So there's not a lot of sure things. They'll probably beat Utah, they'll probably beat Oklahoma State, and they'll probably beat Colorado. BYU could come out of this with 3 losses. They could come out of it with 6 losses. Who knows? But this is a really, really difficult stretch over the next month and change for the Cougars. And I feel like we don't quite know how good they are yet. If you told me at the beginning of the year that their guys are as good as we thought they would be, and they are still in play for a 1 seed at this point in time, they absolutely are, and they have a chance to really make a statement. And I think I'm going to take them to do it against Texas Tech. I just think there's a bunch of matchup advantages. I think I'll take them to get the road win. It's a tough place to play, a tough place to win, but I'm going to take them to do it. And now we have gone 34 minutes, and we've only talked about 2 games.
Yeah, I'm taking Texas Tech, and I just want to reemphasize that I think this could be one of the best college basketball games of the season. Just because of the talent on the floor and the shot making.
All right, 8:00 tonight on Big Fox, Jonathan. Baylor at Kansas. Baylor goes to Allen Fieldhouse. The Bears are 1-3 in Big 12 play. Scott Drew's team is 40th in KenPom. Their next 2 games are this one at Kansas, and then they host Texas Tech. Baylor right now, their KenPom projection is 18-13, 8-10 in the Big 12. They, at this point in time, do not have a win against a team that is higher than 45th in KenPom. And the Bears now going into Allen Fieldhouse. Kansas is 2-2. They're coming off of a monster win at home against Iowa State. What is your read on this basketball game, Jonathan?
Can you tell me the last time Kansas played a conference game on a Friday?
Oh, it's got to be. It's got to be.
I genuinely have no idea.
I'm assuming they might have done it at some point during the COVID year. Nope, they didn't. They didn't. So I would just go and assume it's been very, very, very long time. I can't think of one.
Yeah, so interesting read on here. This is a Baylor team that is a very good offensive rebounding team, and a Kansas.
By the way, what do you think about that? Good for the sport?
What, Friday?
Friday night, Big Fox, Allen Fieldhouse.
So I'm kind of biased because I have the same opinion for football. Friday nights in the fall and the winter are reserved for high school sports. I don't mind, I don't mind the decent Friday game, the Mountain West late tip on Friday, but like I kind of like that like high school basketball gets their big matchups on Friday
Okay, I'm by the way looking through Kansas schedules.
to find when the last time they played on.
There's none. Like
I have
there's
zero
none.
recollection of them ever playing a conference game on a Friday.
Yeah, because they don't play conference games on the Big 12 just doesn't play games on Fridays.
Yeah, they also have like the new media rights deals, so like it could be that. So
no, I think it definitely is that.
I think Kansas is just a way better team here. To actually analyze the matchup, like they're a great interior defense. Their offense with Darren Peterson's obviously elevated, and despite like the situation like that they have with him, I don't think they're going to need him for a whole ton of minutes tonight. Now, if you're looking at a spot here, Kansas just got their biggest win of the season over Iowa State, and maybe they're sleepwalking a little after getting that big win, and they're maybe looking ahead a little bit. They got a rivalry game coming up next week with Kansas State on the road. But I just think Kansas is the way better basketball team here, and I like their ability to contain those guards / wings for Baylor on the perimeter. I'm talking about Carr and Yesufu.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that Kansas is a much better team than Baylor, and like, if you're trying to go off this spot analysis here, I think that makes sense if this were in Waco. We just talked this week about Allen Fieldhouse and like the things that go on there. I think that if you're gonna trust a building in a spot, to take Gary Parrish's words for it, you're gonna do it here. You're gonna do it right now with Kansas. Again, I don't think that Baylor will be able to handle Kansas's physicality in terms of their size inside with Flory and the way that their guards can get into the paint as well. I don't think that Baylor is built to do that. I don't think that Baylor is built with a lot of depth to withstand that, and I don't think that, and I think that Kansas's experienced players are a good matchup for what Baylor wants to do on the wings. I think that Kansas could win. I think Kansas wins by double digits, Jonathan.
Hey, sorry. Dog wanted to come in my room and my door was shut. Yeah, I think this is a Kansas blowout. Just a far superior team. I was honestly surprised that Baylor beat Oklahoma State the way they did on the road earlier this week. I think this is a Baylor team that is like in firm danger of being on the bubble.
I was just going to say this. I think Baylor's going to be a bubble team.
Like everything we talked about with them in the offseason is like, in theory, their defense should be better than this, but it's just not. And
now, Baylor will have plenty of
Bodo hurts that, but like, regardless, this defense should not be this bad.
Baylor will have plenty of quad one opportunities. Notably, they also have that game against Louisville on Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that was happening.
Yeah, I think there's 3 more like non-conference college basketball games on the calendar. That one, Utah State, Memphis, and then obviously Duke, Michigan, and obviously the Sun Belt MAC Challenge. But it's those games. By the way, I looked through all of KenPom.
Nothing.
No Friday night home game. No Friday night games for Kansas.
Not even a road game.
Nope. And it appears to be. Hold on. Check all season. I'm now on ChatGPT asking it. Back to the start.
I tried looking at Kansas
Big 12,
like game notes,
Big 8 basketball.
couldn't find anything. Yeah, I have no recollection. Like Big 12 is a Monday, Tuesday, Saturday sport.
For decades, Kansas conference games in both the Big 8 and Big 12 were almost exclusively. Yeah, thank you, ChatGPT. You're really not helping me here.
We have no fear of AI taking over this pod.
The thing about ChatGPT, when you ask it to like go through again and search online schedules, and you don't like actually when you don't like actually provide it the data, it's good when you actually provide it the data, but if you're just asking it to search through, it's not going to give you a clear answer.
Correct.
Let's talk Miami and Clemson. This is a huge one in the ACC. Miami, with that favorable ACC schedule of they get 2 Boston College games and no Duke game, and they only play Louisville at home, and they only play North Carolina at home, and they don't have to go out on the West Coast road trip. So favorable ACC schedule for Miami, currently 4-0. Do the Canes move to 5-0, or does Clemson protect its home floor and move to 6-0?
I think Clemson protects its home floor here and moves to 6-0. And for me, it's not so much a matchup thing. I actually think that like these teams are pretty well equipped to handle each other on the interior, which in my eyes is the strength of both teams. But Miami like really hasn't played a tough road game yet this year. Like they played a bad Mississippi team, beat them by 9. They played at Wake Forest, who I don't think is that good, and then they played at Notre Dame, who is down its best player for the season and is not that good regardless. So I think Clemson takes this one. Like I said, nothing to do with matchups for me or anything with styles. I just think environment. Clemson fans have been invested in basketball for a couple of years now. With
well, because we know that they're not very good at football anymore.
Yeah, the Elite Eight run, and last year they go 18-2 in league play.
Yep.
So I mean, yeah, like this has become a pretty good program over the last couple of years, and considering who they've lost, it's impressive that they've stayed this good.
Can I also say that this is the biggest athletic event for the University of Miami over the next couple of days?
You can say that. No, nobody can legally stop you.
Considering we already know that they're going to lose to Indiana
mm-hmm.
in football.
Yeah, don't tell Harrison Batnick.
We will probably do like a little bit of a little short preview of that game on the Saturday Night Live pod, because I know Jonathan.
Does DeRosa watch college football?
Sometimes.
Okay.
But Miami, I do think that Clemson, again, as you mentioned, can handle it, the inside game for Miami. Clemson is one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the country. They're a very good kind of post defense. They have like a bunch of different bigs that you can cycle out there between Welling and Godfrey and Wallin and Davidson. So I think you can throw different bodies at Malik Renew, who's been an absolute stud this year. Just maybe one of the best players in the country that we haven't talked a ton about on the pod this year. But Malik Renew's been awesome. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that, hey, he's a really good post scorer. He gets in the line a bunch. He makes his free throws. He gets offensive rebounds. I think that Clemson can kind of neutralize that. I think that Brad Brownell is going to come up with a good game plan for it, especially on his home floor. Jay Lucas, first-year head coach, first-time head coach. I think this is just kind of probably a learning moment for him. I don't think I mean, I'm not necessarily like looking at the schedule and like how it's kind of shaped out. I'm not exactly surprised that Miami is 15-2, that Miami's 4-0 in the conference. Like this is a team that I thought was going to be a fringe tournament team. And I think that they will probably end up making the NCAA tournament. But I don't think that they're going to go out and win this game at Clemson. And I do think they'll make life difficult for Clemson's guards. But I think that Clemson is kind of just Clemson is really good kind of at making you frustrated as a team. Like you're going to play Brad Brownell's game. You're not going to get out and play your game against Brad Brownell. And
if only that was true in that one game last year.
Yeah. All right, Jonathan.
Yeah,
So I'm taking Clemson.
Yeah, I'm taking Clemson too.
Let's go to the Mountain West. We've got a big one tomorrow in San Diego at Viejas Arena. Where is this? Where is this on KenPom? There it is. At 8:00 on CBS Sports Network. It's New Mexico and San Diego State. New Mexico 5-1, 14-3. San Diego State 12-4, 6-0. San Diego State climbing back towards that tournament picture. 45th in KenPom. A win in this one would put them at 13-4, 7-0 in the conference. As I've mentioned, and New Mexico, a win here kind of validates a lot of the stuff that they've done. They have that impressive road win at VCU. They have the Santa Clara win. But this would be the biggest win of the early Eric Olin era. Jonathan, who are you taking between San Diego State and New Mexico?
So I'll take San Diego State. I think they're playing a lot better. I was really impressed on Wednesday with their win at Wyoming, a team that has actually been quite good this year and under the radar. But San Diego State has started to play a lot better. Their defense has looked more like the San Diego State defense that we all know and love. And I think just like, that atmosphere, the elevation levels changing, it's just San Diego State's really tough to beat on their home floor. I also think that I kind of hinted at it, but San Diego State is working its way back towards the NCAA tournament picture. They still have work to do. I will say what is really intriguing about this game is the loser of this. It kind of feels like, it's not a, loser leaves town game, but it's a loser, loser is going to have some
probably has to beat Utah State.
Loser has some work to do kind of game.
And winner has some work to do as well.
Correct.
But I do think the winner of this game puts itself pretty firmly in the picture on the bubble. Obviously, New Mexico has that loss to New Mexico State, which again, it's not the worst loss that a team in the Mountain West took in the non-conference, but it's certainly not a good one considering it's quadrant 3. But this is an opportunity for New Mexico to get its second quad 1 win of the season. It has the win, as I mentioned, against VCU, and the Mountain West. Is probably gonna have to hope that the team that wins this game can keep up the momentum and go on a run, so it can be at least a 2-bid league in the NCAA tournament this year, Jonathan. But
yeah,
for me, I am gonna also go with San Diego State.
That's surprising to me. I know how much you like the New Mexico team.
I do like this New Mexico team a lot, but I also think that San Diego State's been just legitimately playing much, much better as of late. I feel like this is kind of what we've more so expected them to look like. Obviously, it's not like Miles Byrd hasn't exactly been All-American level, but he did just win KenPom MVP in their last game in a game that he only took 7 shots in. That's kind of that tells you about the type of impact that he can have. San Diego State's kind of back to playing a little bit more of their defensive game. They're playing not particularly. They're not playing as slow as we've come accustomed to them playing, but I think they also have a bunch of guys that can get out and make plays. They are a very deep team. I think that plays to your benefit in the Mountain West. And it's not that New Mexico is not. I think that New Mexico's time this season will come. I don't think their time is this game right now. I think that there's a really interesting dynamic when these teams play again on February 28th. To me, because I think we'll have a much clearer view of the bubble picture at that point, and that game will be at the Pit.
Does this league play double round robin or no because of Grand Canyon being in the league now?
Not quite double round robin.
Okay.
So
I see San Diego State plays Utah State twice.
I think New Mexico does as well.
Okay, that's good. Like that, you want that if you're the Mountain West.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to whip around one. We'll hit on 5 games in this segment as well. Jonathan, would you like to get us started with one of these 5? Give me your full thoughts.
I'm going to start with Iowa, Indiana, and it's not because I think it's the best game of the 5 you have listed here, but I think it's the most intriguing because it feels like these two badly need a win. Badly need a win. Iowa's lost 3 in a row to Minnesota, Purdue on the road, Illinois at home. Indiana also has lost 2 in a row, Nebraska at home, Michigan State on the road. And what's frustrating
can I put something in here?
Yeah.
For this game.
Mm-hmm.
Combined 0-8 in quad 1, these 2 teams.
Now, will this be a quad 1 opportunity for both of them? Iowa's metrics are quite good.
It is a quad 1 game for both of them at the moment.
Okay. Now, I imagine, if Indiana wins this game, you have to worry about Iowa dropping out of quad 1.
They're 22.
Okay, not bad. So, yeah, I think this is a huge opportunity for both teams. This is the firm second tier of the Big Ten. Teams that will be playing for their tournament live still a month from now. And, it's 2 teams that also just play really good offensive basketball. Both teams run great stuff. It's two really good-minded coaches. So, exciting one to me.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch because I think both these teams kind of need to play some desperate ball.
So the last 2 Drake coaches.
I wouldn't call it I don't think it's must win. I think both of these teams will have plenty of opportunities.
I don't think it's anything as must win at this point unless you're on the verge of being eliminated.
Especially I think when you're in a certain conference, every game is must win. But in the Big Ten, you'll have plenty of opportunities. It's just that I think that this is probably the clearest opportunity that these teams could get for a quad 1 win. Obviously, the Indiana takes the Western trip to UCLA and USC. Those are probably going to be quad 1 games, but again, those are road games. And then they play Ohio State at the end of the season. Who knows? That'll probably stick as quad 1 at Ohio State. And then for Iowa, does not have a quad 1 game on the schedule after this until February 4th, which is at Washington. And who knows? That probably stays quad 1, but maybe it doesn't. And we'll kind of have to see how this plays out for both of these teams. But who do you think wins?
Give me Iowa. I think that's a team that knows how to win on the road, and they've played.
Do they?
They've played they won a ton of these guys won a ton of games last year. Some of them
they haven't won a road game this year.
They have not won a road game this year, but I think with Bennett Sturtz's experience and some of the other Drake guys that are coming over, I think that they can go and weather the storm here. They just played Purdue.
Is Indiana not the most experienced team in the country?
Are they?
Indiana is number one in the country in D1 experience. They start Tucker DeVries, who's a 17th year senior at this point.
I just every time
Peyton Conaway is a senior.
Every time
Lamar Wilkerson is a senior.
Every time last year that I watched Drake play a game where it felt like their backs were against the wall, which was so super often, but they were in a lot of close games because of their style. They were able to pull it out. They just played Purdue really tough on the road, and I think they're going to come out with a win here.
I'm just you know how much I liked that Drake team last year. You know how much I like Ben McCollum and Bennett Sturtz. Buddy, this isn't the MVC.
It's basically the MVC. The head coach and second best player on this team were the MVC coach and player of the year
2 years ago.
Nah, I'm just messing with you.
I think this is like, I love Ben McCollum. I think he's one of the best coaches in the sport, no doubt. But like, there's a difference between winning at Assembly Hall. There's a difference between winning at Carver Arena in Peoria, like Drake did last year, winning at the McLeod Center in Cedar Falls, like Drake did last year. Between that and going to Assembly Hall and getting a win. If you want to say Drake had the road wins last year, yeah, they did. Iowa hasn't won yet on the road this year. Iowa
double or nothing on the LSU bet.
No, I'm not that confident in this.
Hmm.
I just think that your argument logic was flawed. I never said I wasn't picking Iowa.
I'm confident in Iowa. Indiana hasn't beaten a team with a pulse this year.
I was just saying, like, I don't think that your argument logic was sound.
Sure.
With that being said, I'm going to take Indiana, but I could go either way.
Can I call it fake experience?
What do you mean by that?
Like, how many of these dudes on Indiana have like played in like actual big games?
Well, Sam Alexis won a national championship
and did not play at all. Played.
No, no. I don't. I think that you have a point. I think that I have a point.
Tate and Conaway did, because Troy was good last year, and they played in the NCAA tournament.
I'm going to lean slightly to Indiana in this one. I think that
here's another interesting angle.
Iowa right now feels like a very, like, I can't quite. I'm just not quite there with Iowa right now.
Here's another angle for this. Do you think it's in Indiana's players' heads that like nobody cares if we lose this weekend because our football team plays for a national title in 2 days?
No, I think people care.
It's Indiana basketball.
It's Indiana basketball. People care.
Of course they do.
And like, if they lose, and I not that this plays into my pick. If they lose this one, they go to Michigan on Tuesday. They will likely
they will be 12-7 without a quad win. They will not make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. All right, Jonathan. We just talked a lot about a game for it being in the whip around one segment.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take
we need to do some more whipping in this next game.
All right, I'm gonna take you quickly to Dallas, to the Moody Coliseum, where it's Virginia against SMU. We talked a lot about Virginia earlier in the week with Zach Carey. Definitely listen to that pod. It was really good on Tuesday night. SMU got a big win on Wednesday night, beating the buzzer. Well, not a big win, but exciting win at home against Virginia Tech. Right now, the Mustangs would be in the NCAA tournament if the field dropped today. Would you do that?
Agree.
I don't know if that's. I don't know if I think they're going to be an NCAA tournament team, though. Is my thing. Like, Boopie Miller is awesome, but if you're, but I feel like we've seen Boopie Miller be awesome before. Obviously, he's never been this good, but like, he's played a lot of college basketball. Is having a 136 offensive rating in conference play on 31% usage something that we think he can sustain?
No, probably not, just because, small guard, eventually you would think there's teams out there that can game plan for him and make other guys beat them. But, like, the thing is, like, Pierre's been really good for them this year. Edwards has been really good. Like, that's why
they hung around with Duke without Boopie Miller.
Ewing theory.
Well, they didn't win.
I don't actually believe that.
I just think that Virginia.
I'm picking.
I think there's like a tier gap between these two teams. There's Virginia, which is I think on the top tier level of the ACC, not quite as good as Duke, but right there. And then there's SMU, which to me is in the Miami tier.
Yeah, I think Virginia is the better team here, and I also want to say that I think, like, I have to pick Virginia here just because SMU's 36th in Ken Palm, and they're going to need to start trending downwards to get back to the Enfield zone eventually.
All right, Arkansas, Georgia, at Stegman. Who do you got, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think Arkansas is comfortable playing fast here, which Georgia wants to do, and I just think Arkansas is better. Like the Auburn game, it's a tough environment to go into and play well there, as we've seen so many times over the last 5 years. But like, I think this Arkansas team is legitimately good. They play fast. They have an elite offense. They shoot. You can't really protect the rim against them because they're so athletic. I think like Cyril's impact here is going to be not diminished, but like it's not going to be as high as normal. And I think Arkansas is going to go into Stegman and get a win. Georgia's just a team that I always thought this year was fake good, and like they're starting to show it.
Yeah, that loss to Mississippi at home, like bad loss. I know, like
forget that they should have lost to South Carolina too.
Yeah, Georgia, though, the one thing I'll say about this game is, I do want to see how. I think Santo Cyril might be one of the like 4 or 5 best rim protecting bigs in the country in terms of his size, athleticism, just ability to time and block shots. I wonder how that plays into the driving game for Arkansas's guards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And obviously Arkansas's guards have hit a ton of shots this year. And there's no evidence that they won't at this point. Like they're shooting the ball really well. I do wonder how that plays into the driving game because Arkansas's 2-point offense has been really, really good recently as well. But give me the Hogs. Give me the Hogs just on that. Kentucky, Tennessee in Knoxville.
I think there's a lot of different ways we can go here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of storylines that'll come out of this, and I think like a lot of like the podcasts that talk about college basketball like will talk a lot about this game because it's Kentucky and Tennessee. I think you'll hear a lot about this, but to me, like I feel like I know kind of who these teams are at this point.
Agree. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not like particularly enthused by either of them.
Can I say that like whoever loses here, like, I mean, Kentucky, it feels like sky is falling in wins at this point. But like, if Tennessee loses, it's also going to feel like sky is falling for them.
Yes.
At home against the rival, you would be 2-3 in conference play. You just barely escaped in double overtime against Texas A&M at home. You got blasted last weekend by Florida on the road.
Yeah, Tennessee's metrics are good. 19 in Ken Palm. They don't have a loss outside of Quad 1.
They can thank Houston for that.
Yeah. Well, Houston's metrics aren't like awesome either.
No, but Houston playing the way they have the last 2 weeks has certainly kept Tennessee afloat.
And also the Syracuse loss has worked its way back to Quadrant 1.
How about those thoughts? How about them?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to lean Tennessee here, though.
I'm going to lean Tennessee as well. I think there's so much pressure on Kentucky right now, and they cannot string together good performances at all.
Yeah. And then one more whip around one game. We'll go to St. Mary's, Santa Clara. Jonathan, who do you got? I mean, I think we know who you got.
Yeah, I'm taking St. Mary's. Like, not to say that Santa Clara is not good. This is a team that's top 50 in Ken Palm at the moment, but St. Mary's has just historically, and when I say historically, last 5 years or so, they've just been able to beat these teams that are worse than them in conference play. Like, they don't lose to the San Francisco Santa Claras of the world, like that second tier of teams in the WC.
But they lost to San Francisco last year.
I do not remember that. On the road by one.
Yeah, on the road by one.
Okay.
I remember it. We talked about it on the pod, I think.
Marcus Williams had 16. Okay.
Yeah, but I do agree. I think this is the type of game that kind of separates.
They completely choked.
This is the type of game that separates St. Mary's from the rest of this league. Like, whatever Santa Clara and some of these teams have tried to throw at St. Mary's hasn't truly mattered. But the one thing I will say, Santa Clara is the number one turnover forcing team in the WCC. They play the fastest pace in the WCC. They are athletic. And St. Mary's, I think they're probably more athletic than St. Mary's. St. Mary's has not really. They are sixth in turnover rate in offensively in the WCC. You typically see them at the very top of that. They were number two the last couple of years. They've always been a really good team at limiting turnovers. They're not quite that right now. So I think that's something to watch, and it's a way that Santa Clara can win. They can force turnovers, get out in transition, score in transition, and go on runs. But there will be a stretch in this game where Santa Clara doesn't score for like 6 minutes, because that's what St. Mary's does.
Yeah.
Even though the St. Mary's team is better offensively than defensively this year, it's just the way that they play. It happens.
Yeah, absolutely. They did it against San Francisco earlier this week. They just they make you play long possessions on the defensive end, and it it completely messes with your head.
Yeah. All right. I've got a bunch of notes I've got a bunch of games listed down for the other leagues, for all the high major leagues, and then for the mid majors. Jonathan, you want to get into it with the ACC?
Yeah, sure. So what's the deal here? Am I picking one of these games or what?
Just, is there anything you want to discuss out of those games?
I think UNC desperately needs a win here. They're down to 35th in Ken Palm, and their record may look good, but they're actually, they have a net rating that's worse than last year's team. Now, they've gotten more fortunate in close games, but I think a win here against Cal, and the pendulum swinging back like we talked about the other day would be big for them here.
Cal's had a brutal ACC schedule so far, and I think they're going to fall to 1-5.
Yeah, they've played all the best teams in the league, pretty much.
Also want to say that Syracuse has had the second easiest schedule in the conference. It will likely be the easiest schedule in the conference when we wake up on Sunday morning, because Miami plays at Clemson, Syracuse plays at Boston College. Syracuse will probably win at Boston College and move to 4-1 in the ACC.
Hey, Red Autry's going to play mind games to get blown out so they don't have the easiest schedule in conference play. Ever think of that?
But that's just my thought right there, that I just think it's worth noting the schedule. But they're pushing themselves into a spot where their metrics are actually palatable. 58th right now, and they're only a 6-point favorite against Boston College on Ken Palm. That is a game you can win by 15 and move 5 more spots up in Ken Palm, and all of a sudden you look up and you're on the borderline of a top 50 team, and you're pushing the bubble. You have that win over Tennessee, and obviously that Hofstra loss looks worse. They just didn't lose
that Hofstra game.
Yeah, they would be in the mix right now, no doubt. I just think it's worth noting, though, the schedule gets much more difficult.
Yeah, no doubt.
The next thing in the ACC. The ACC Freshman of the Year will be playing against Cameron Boozer. No, I'm not going to go there. Just Duke Stanford should be an interest. Like, want to see if Duke goes and like takes care of business back-to-back games on the road on the West Coast. Like, how many teams sweep the West Coast?
I don't
Like,
know if I don't know if I would call what they did on Wednesday taking care of business, but
well, they won.
they did win, and they ended up winning by 15. So.
Like, how many teams have gone out and swept the West Coast trip? Well, I mean,
Not North Carolina,
not Notre Dame, not Louisville. I think those are the teams that have gone out and done it so far. Yeah, it's just those.
Cornell won at Cal last year.
Yes, but then you. All right, Big 12. Anything?
Tough trip for Arizona out to UCF. Like, I so badly want to like slander UCF, but like I just can't do it. Like, they're playing too well.
Arizona is one of 3 remaining undefeated teams in college basketball right now, Jonathan. They are the only one of those teams that is in the top 14 of KenPom. They are second in KenPom, 17-0. They are not projected to lose a game until February 21st. They probably will lose at some point. But if they win this game on the road, then they have a 96 and 95% chance to go into that big Monday BYU game that we mentioned earlier at 20-0.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've talked Arizona to death over the course of this year.
We have.
Just really, really physically good offensive team. Doesn't need to shoot the 3 to win. Braden Berries has just been so much better recently. Obviously, the last 2 games have not been his best, but he's come along. We've seen what that ceiling is for Arizona. Anything else in the Big 12?
All right, we're gonna move this next segment down with the mid majors.
No, I actually think there's a couple interesting Big East games though.
St. John's Nova is definitively interesting.
Yeah,
every St. John's game is interesting.
Butler is 1-5 in the Big East, Jonathan.
After a promising start to the season, too.
Yeah, they were 10-3. Their only Big East loss heading into that Creighton game was UConn. They were 1-1, and now they've lost 4 in a row: Creighton, Villanova, St. John's, Xavier. So yeah, difficult schedule, but they've also now lost to Xavier. You go to Seton Hall,
they will lose.
You start 1-6 in this Big East, they're like the Butler fans are starting to watch the Butler fans do not want Thad Matta to be there.
They're starting to subscribe to Curry Hicks Sage's podcast.
Yes, that is what I would say.
We'll talk about this with DeRosa tomorrow night if they lose.
Yes, and then St. John's Villanova at the arena in Philly. Jonathan, who you got?
I just want to. You said the arena in Philly?
Yeah, it's at the arena in Philly. It's not at the pavilion in Villanova. It's at the arena in Philly.
That's not what it's called, though.
No, it's not. But it's at the NBA arena in Philadelphia
and the NHL arena. Don't forget.
Yes, and it may not be the NBA arena for long.
I think Villanova's going to win. I think this is I think Villanova does a good job of being physical, despite not having an elite defense. They keep you off the line. The offensive rebound. I think Villanova wins.
I'll take St. John's. I think that Villanova.
You just want those weak points. Don't lie.
No, I think St. John's is going to win. I think Villanova's got physicality. I don't think they have St. John's physicality on the inside. I think that having seen less and less of Josan Sanin, it's probably for the better. He's only played 23 minutes now over the last 2 games.
We're getting closer and closer.
Yeah. And Dylan Darling has been better in Big East play than he was in non-conference play. Not that he's been very good. He's just been fine. And I think that St. John's using those lineups, those bigger lineups, makes their defense better.
Okay. I think that's
UConn plays at Georgetown. That's probably not much to talk about there. Big Ten.
Unless there are water bottles involved, I have nothing to say.
What Big Ten game? Pick one or two of these Big Ten games.
UCLA, Ohio State, just because, it's two teams that are still definitively playing for their NCAA tournament lives. One of these coaches is coaching for his job still, that being Jake Diebler at Ohio State. Ohio State is lacking a big win too this year.
Both of these teams are lacking big wins.
Not that beating UCLA at home would be a big win, but it's one that I think both teams could really use.
I mentioned it earlier with the Iowa Indiana game, but this is similar. Except UCLA has one quad one win. These teams are combined 1-8 in quad one, and that one quad one win is UCLA winning at Washington. Just not the resume that they would have hoped to have at this point.
Ohio State had UNC beat too. Had to get one stop.
Yeah. We'll say in terms of a WAB game to watch, I can't find it on WAB Watch. Where is it? Ohio State. This is a pretty notable WAB game to watch. UCLA would get about plus 0.65. Ohio State would get plus 0.34 to win. So that's something to note. UCLA right now is 50th in WAB, Ohio State 52nd. Both of these teams, so one of these teams will see a rise in where they are in the WAB rankings. We just don't know which one. But that's kind of, even if you're not getting a quad one or whatever it is win, say if you're Ohio State, you're this is not going to be a quad one win for you. This is still an important WAB game, and the WAB matters at this point. I'm going to.
We know that at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Michigan State, Washington, to talk about that game. This is a really interesting test, in my opinion, for Steinbach and for Washington, because we've talked about how good Steinbach is. This is one of the better front courts they'll play in terms of their ability to control the game as a rebounding team, control the game in the post. So I want to see how he reacts. Another thing to note, though, even though Michigan State is 5-1 in the Big Ten, they are dead last in the conference in turnover rate offensively, and that's not because Jeremy Fears has been turning it over a lot. It's an 18% turnover rate, which is not crazy. It's that the other guys on that team, Kohler's been turning it over a lot. Cooper's been turning it over a lot. Their bigs have not been. Their bigs have been turning it over a lot in conference play. Yeah, sure. Kohler's been making shots, but Cooper and they've both been getting on the glass at a high level, but their bigs have been turning it over to a lot more. Their backup guards.
Cohen Carr almost has a 1-2 assist to turnover ratio.
Yeah. So the turnovers in conference play, something to note for them, but Washington is not a team that forces a ton of turnovers. I don't think of them as a very strong defense at all, really. I think Michigan State wins, but the Steinbach matchup is something I'm keeping an eye on. Nebraska looking to stay undefeated. They play Northwestern. Man, Northwestern just right now reeling 0-6 in the Big Ten. I think they'll be 0-7.
Yeah, the The obvious sign, if you hadn't picked up already, was that Northwestern didn't get their annual home win against Illinois this week.
And here's the other thing. Like, not going to make the NCAA tournament. I think we know that at this point. But even if they were to win this Nebraska game, it would only be 0.59 wins above bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this would, and Northwestern is 146th in wins above bubble right now. This would not put them, I don't think, in the top 100 if they won it. And they would be the first team to beat Nebraska if they did it. So that's not good. Let me make sure I have this right. Yeah, it would not put them in the top 100 per the Wab Watch. So just kind of shows you how far off they are right now from what we hoped they would be. It's unfortunate. That Rutgers loss probably did them in a little bit in that, as well as some of the other ones that they have. Butler's not a good one. Minnesota, not a good one either. You want to go to the SEC?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Let's go to, I think Mizzou LSU is probably the most intriguing game here. LSU is winless in conference play. Still, unfortunately, miles ahead of South Carolina in KenPom, which is not good for my bank account. But Mizzou has started to trend towards an NCAA tournament team again. They're now 3-1 in league play. Home wins over Florida and Auburn. They got the road win against Kentucky. If they could get another road win here, I'd be pretty intrigued by what this team could end up being down the stretch, because they're tied for first in conference play right now.
Mizzou's resume is better than the team right now. Agreed?
Yeah, is that Notre Dame loss quad 1, or is it 2 right now?
It's 2.
Okay, it's gonna stay 2.
No, it's 1. Oh, Mississippi is 2. Sorry.
Okay.
Notre Dame is 74.
I honestly think those will flip flop. I think Mississippi will end up being quad 1, and
I think I agree.
Notre Dame will end up being quad 2.
Right now, Mizzou has the 2 quad 1 wins in conference play and the quad 2 win against Auburn that could at some point end up being quad 1. And I just think that the losses that they have, the Illinois and Kansas losses, are like they registered worse in watching them and in the predictives than they do just straight up on your resume. They're 36th in strength of record. They're 38th in wins above bubble. They're 55th in Torvik. They are 54th in KenPom and 66th in the net. LSU's a little bit of the opposite, where they are 0-4.
Good metrics,
in conference play, but 49th in KenPom. If I just pull up, they're 54th in the net, so they're not high, but they're still, and their strength of record, though, 64th, wins above bubble, very bad, below 0 after the Kentucky game, and it would go below 1 if it loses to Missouri. So, that's a hole you could dig out from in the SEC, but they still have most of their toughest games, I think some of the winnable games that they've lost so far, blowing that game to Kentucky, losing by only 3 to Texas A&M. They've blown opportunities, in my opinion. So I think that's something to watch.
Definitely.
Yeah, don't really have anything else on the SEC
these other games just I don't think are important.
I just want to touch on Alabama, Oklahoma a little bit. Alabama right now, just defensively, I don't think they can get a stop. And Oklahoma is a team that thrives on its offense, but has been very bad offensively in SEC play. I think that changes, and I think Oklahoma maybe not wins against Alabama, but Oklahoma, we've seen them play. We've seen them play NATO's Alabama team at home and play them well. Even when Oklahoma's not been like awesome and Alabama has been. So I do think it's something to note that Alabama, that with the Alabama Oklahoma game. So
yeah, I don't think it's like completely out of the question, but like I would say that like Bama is susceptible to losing to most teams just because they don't defend and they're a high variance team because they shoot a lot of threes.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma is kind of due for just a little bit of 2-point offensive regression. Not even 3-point, but 2-point offensive regression.
I mean, if their guards are just going to let people blow by them,
And for Alabama, we know that their 2-point defense is solid this year, but I don't think they are they will stay as the number one effective field goal percentage defense in the SEC. I think this game is going to be played in the 90s.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, let's hit some mid-major games. Let's start tonight in the Mid-American Conference with Toledo-Kent State, Jonathan.
Two solid teams. The MAC is a tremendous league this year. At the top, you got undefeated.
To me, the best this league has been in the last 5, at least.
In my memory, to be honest.
Well, no, I would say the year that NATO's had that Buffalo team.
I don't know how good the league was then, though.
They also had Toledo win 25. Bowling Green was good. Central was good. Kent was good. Akron was good.
Okay, fair enough. Toledo's defense is not good, and Kent State's not either. There's going to be a lot of points in this one, which makes, I think, it a fun watch. I think if you're looking at matchups here, this is a Toledo team that does not let you get to the line, and Kent State is a team that lets you get to the line a lot. So I think if you are analyzing this, look for Toledo to be aggressive going downhill and getting to the rim. Kent State, they'll probably hunt threes a little more. That's a team that shoots a lot of threes. So
yeah,
really
they do that. But their two best players, their two highest usage players, are their post guys, Del Recco Gillespie and Rob Whaley. I don't know if Toledo can kind of match up with that heft on the inside. Toledo is not a good 2-point defense. They don't really have a ton of rim protection, and they don't defensive rebound. I think that obviously Toledo's guards, Sonny Wilson and Leroy Glyden, are awesome. I don't know but I don't know how Kent State will do defensively on them, but I also don't know how Toledo will handle Whaley and Gillespie in this game. And then Kent State obviously has great shooters on the perimeter to flank them. So I'm going to go Kent State gets the win at home against Toledo, moves to 5-1 in the MAC. Will Miami of Ohio improve to 19-0 tomorrow against Buffalo, Jonathan?
Yeah, they will.
I say they will, and I'm going to say
I think Kent State next Tuesday is going to be their first loss.
I agree. I was about to say that. I think Kent State's going to be that first loss, and I think they probably finish the regular season 27-4.
Good enough to be in the at-large conversation?
28-3, lose a conference tournament game. I don't know to who.
28-4 get them to the at-large conversation. I don't think it does. In the conversation,
I think it's probably either 29-4 or 30-4. Rather than 29-4 or 30-4. But I just don't know. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I don't think it will.
Does 15-3 win them the league?
I don't know.
I'll say they tie with Akron, but they have the head-to-head, so they'll get.
Also worth noting that they did not pull one of the teams that I would consider one of the best ones in the Sun Belt in the MAC Sun Belt Challenge.
Who did they get in that?
Marshall.
Okay.
Which is interesting because they decide these matchups like middle of the season.
Yeah, probably not the one you want. Like you probably wanted
and
like,
they have to go there. They have to go there.
Okay. Yeah, you probably wanted Troy or Arkansas State.
And you probably
I'm going to be interested to see like
here's my thing though. I don't think anyone in the Sun Belt is a resume win. I think you just have to not lose, and going on the road to a Marshall team that's like solid.
I mean, they're not going to be favored by that much in that game.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I'm interested to see like when they play the bottom teams in this league, and we kind of saw this on Tuesday. Like, how much does Miami try to run up these teams to get their metrics better?
I mean, they have to
because they're 87th in Ken Palm. That's not going to be good enough. Like they
have to kill teams. They have to kill teams. Like when they play Northern Illinois on January 31st, they have to win that game by 30.
I don't think they're going to kill a lot of the good teams in this league.
Like, yeah. I didn't say good teams.
Credit to them for going out and winning by 14 at Toledo, and that certainly helped. But like, I don't know if they're going to, come out and kill Buffalo or.
Yeah, I think that would be a real statement though if they come out and kill Buffalo.
Yeah, they play them again in a couple of weeks after.
Yeah, not that I think Buffalo's like great. I mean, I know they're 13-4, but they don't have like they've played a pretty easy schedule in conference play, second easiest in the conference thus far, and they're only 3-2. They're projected 9-9. I would probably lean the under on that.
Can we also acknowledge that, like, I do think
they still have to play Miami twice, Akron twice, and Bowling Green.
I do think that like they are improving. Like they're
no doubt. Buffalo's a much better team than they have been.
No. I'm talking Miami, Ohio is improving. Like they have gotten better.
I mean, I think it's just that they've been playing better teams.
But like like they played Mercyhurst in November and beat them by 5. Like they were in an overtime game with UNC Asheville. Like I think
that's a tough place to win.
I think they've just been playing better.
I don't disagree, but like I don't think they're necessarily getting better. Like they were really good last year, and it's a lot of the same guys.
Would you say it's? Would you, if I had told you before the start of the season that Miami, Ohio was going to be 18-0, and they were only up to 87th in Ken Palm from 127 in the preseason, would you say that's too low, or like right about where they should be?
I would have looked at their schedule and said, "Wow, that's not an impressive 18-0."
Right, but like, I do think it's an impressive 18-0.
No. Like in the bowels of all 18-0s that you could possibly have.
Yeah.
Like this is a rather realistic 18-0 compared to some of the other ones. I would say. Just like their non-conference schedule, like nobody wanted to play them in the non-con because they brought back so much from a 14-4 team.
Yeah, can't really blame them for that.
No. So we've talked about
that'll be interesting if they finish like 28-3 and lose in the conference tournament as like a talking point for NCAA.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. Like, I'm not gonna be heartbroken when they don't get in. Like, I like this team; they're fun. But like it's not going to I won't complain about the committee when they don't get in. I'll complain about the fact that the
system is set up the way it is.
The system is set up the way it is, yeah. Big game in A-Sun, Austin P and Lipscomb with Kevin Carroll, the new head coach, has gotten off to a 4-1 start in A-Sun play. They just beat Bellarmine at home last night. Jonathan, will they pick up the big win and knock Austin P from the ranks of the undefeated?
Yeah, I'll say they do. They're at home in Nashville, and like I watched the Lipscomb team against Duke. Like they're a solid team. They play fast. Like they get to the rim. They really shared the ball. They shared the ball really well, which like they did against Duke impressively. It doesn't surprise me one bit from watching that game that they are one of the better teams in the league, and I think they'll get it done.
Yeah, I like Mateo Esmeraldo a lot. He's been like a really fun playmaker point guard for them. But I think
Charlie Williams as a 6'10" big is like passing is intriguing too.
No, and a guy that can step out, hit shots. Just a guy that like, doesn't stay on the floor because of foul trouble.
Yeah.
But like again, even in that Bellarmine game, he only had one foul, but he only played 20 minutes. Austin P is not exactly the type of team that's going to like get you into crazy foul trouble. They are fourth in that conference in foul rate. For Austin P,
really,
what they do
really
is
good free throw defense.
What Austin P does as a team is they are the best turnover margin in that league. They have a bunch of guys that can handle the ball, a bunch of guys that can hit shots. Zyree Collins has been really fun. Colin Parker is terrific. Another guy with size that can shoot, that can make passes. Offensively for Austin P, I think they have that, and they're also just a really sound defensive team. They make plays. Zyree Collins and McCubbin and Brookshire can all make plays. Marshall makes plays. I think they're sound, and they also are explosive.
They've built a really good ASUN team by taking guys from like every city in the state of Missouri.
Yeah, I think they're explosive and will. I don't know who's going to win this game.
Can I just say, because like, I hype myself up a lot on this show when like I eval a freshman that's like super underrated and it ends up being good. Tate McCubbin was like a really bad miss for me. I saw him play in person and thought he was bad. And he was the freshman.
He's not been quite as good as I thought.
Bit of a sophomore slump,
but I think that's probably just because Zyree Collins has been like unbelievable.
Yeah, kid out of St. Louis with a top 60 usage rate nationally and a top 4 steal rate.
Yeah.
But, McCubbin, I saw McCubbin in person. He wasn't super impressive to me, and I was wrong about him.
All right, Jonathan. Let's go to the Big West, where UC San Diego is down to 3-3. My question for you now becomes, if you had to pick who you think the best team in this conference is, who are you taking? I know that we just had that Hawaii UC Irvine game last week. Hawaii won at the buzzer on Hunter Erickson at the Stan Sheriff Center. Does that give Hawaii the edge to you, or do you think it's Irvine, or do you think or are you still on the UC San Diego train?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I don't think that any of these teams have really established themselves as a true number one in this league. Like even at 3-3, you can make an argument, I think, for UC San Diego. It's not like, it's like the Cal State Fullerton loss was bad, but like they do have the Hawaii win. Their non-con was obviously very impressive, and they may just have hit a wall here that they need to overcome. Hawaii gets the home win, like you said, over Irvine. And the thing about those two teams is like they have really high floors because of their defense. Hawaii has a top 20 defense nationally. Irvine's is top 40. So I'm like very excited to see how this league plays out at the top. I think there are a bunch of solid teams in the middle of the league too. So if you made me answer, I'd probably say Hawaii, just because those trips out there are going to be so tough throughout the course of the season, and they're already 2-1 on the road.
But the tournament is not out there.
It is not. No, when you're talking about who makes the NCAA tournament, that's an entirely different conversation.
All right, let's talk Ivy. The Ivy League has its third round of games this weekend, and then its fourth round on Monday. So we'll talk about that. The big ones for me, Cornell at Yale. Cornell is 0-2, in danger of falling to 0-3 in a conference that has only 14 conference games. Cornell, in its last 3 Division I games has allowed 114, 104, and 102 points.
Yeah, they play fast, so the scores are always going to be high, but their defense has truly not been good one bit this year. Now they play great offense, but they can't get a stop. I thought Jake Fegan being back would improve their defense. It has not. So I don't expect them to be able to get a ton of stops, especially on the road here. Like they would have to get some pretty good shooting luck in their favor against the Yale team that is a really good 3-point shooting team.
Against the Yale team that also is due for some positive shooting regression after what happened against Princeton when they shot 5 for 29 from 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Yale here, and I'm just going to say, like, Cornell dropping to 0-3. Yeah, they have Ivy Madness at Ithaca this year. It would be really disappointing if Cornell's not part of it. But I also think that, like, that also says, hey, the Ivy League this year is a toss-up, I think, outside of Yale, and really even with Yale now being 1-1, like they're not they're probably, I still would pick them to win this league. But I think there's so many toss-ups in this league right now. Even Columbia, who we thought was really good.
Yeah, they just got blown out by 25.
Harvard. I was there that game, and maybe if Zeno Bedry comes back soon, which Kevin Hovde said it's happening at some point soon, hopefully. That could help out, but that there are a lot of ways I could see a lot of different teams being in Ivy Madness this year. Dartmouth, I did not expect to start 2-0. Princeton did not expect to start 2-0. Do you think either of those teams will get to 3-0? Princeton plays Harvard, Dartmouth plays Penn.
I'd say it's more likely Dartmouth probably gets 3-0. After all, they are favored and Princeton is not. I will say that, just looking at the state of this league is what would you count it out for Dartmouth to win the league? Just
I think
be on the good side of variance. Like they're a good 3-point shooting team.
I mean, sure, they won their first 2 road games, but
January 16th, and Dartmouth is shooting 10% better than their opponents from 3.
I'm just no. I'm Dartmouth will not win the Ivy League in my opinion.
Okay.
Come back to me if that's wrong.
I just was wondering if you could see them, variancing their way.
I think Penn's better than Dartmouth.
Okay.
They're higher in KenPom. It's especially with Ethan Roberts back. I know they lost that game to Princeton with Ethan Roberts, but I think they're better than Dartmouth. I don't know if they're going to win this game because it's on the road and it's tough. But we're gonna the Ivy League schedule when you're 4 games in, will be after Monday night. You'll have a lot of information because it's only a 14-game schedule and only 4 teams make it. Just a couple more games I want to touch on. Lindenwood at UT Martin. We talked a little bit about UT Martin last night. We've talked about them over the course of the year. This is probably one of their biggest games because Lindenwood's 5-2. Tennessee Martin is 6-1. Will Tennessee Martin keep it going and move to 7-1, or does Lindenwood pull off the upset?
Come on, you think I'm betting against Jeremy Schulman? No chance. Even if I do have a special place in my heart for Lindenwood.
All right. Pick. Actually, I'll give you the floor on Bradley, Illinois State, the Battle of I-70.
Not I-70.
Not I-70. What I is it?
It's
74.
74, I think. Hold on.
Yeah. All right. Just talk about the basketball game.
You look up the name of the highway.
Yeah.
It is 74. Now that I'm thinking about it.
All right, can you talk about the game?
Yeah. So Illinois State has regressed a little bit after I complimented them for being better than I thought they would be. 3 losses in a row. All 3 of them are to teams that I think are going to be in the bottom half of the MVC. Now, granted, 2 of them are on the road. That UIC loss, though, not good. I think that like last year when Illinois State was like on the rise, this game like it was super juiced up. Illinois State had a ton of fans that there. It was a raucous crowd, and Illinois State controlled the game for the most part and beat them by 11. Like I could see that happening again. Like this is the biggest game of Illinois State's season, at least in the regular season. Like what happens, when we get to St. Louis happens, but Bradley, Illinois State, like there's not a better rivalry in the league. And Illinois State getting this at home, on a Saturday, I think it's going to be a nuts crowd, probably the best.
Students back.
Students back at school, best MVC crowd of the year, and I think Illinois State will win. Just seems like the perfect bounce back spot for them after the 3 losses.
I am going to touch briefly on St. Thomas, North Dakota State, because these are 2 undefeated teams left in their conference in the Summit League. St. Thomas is 5-0. Sorry, 4-0. North Dakota State is 5-0. Again, like the Summit League, if you like offense, you like the Summit League, but these are also not just the top 2 offensive teams in the conference and conference play. These are the top 2 defenses.
Spanish class has entered the picture
so far in conference play. St. Thomas has the fastest tempo. North Dakota State has the slowest tempo. And North Dakota State is the best offensive rebounding team. St. Thomas is the second worst offensive rebounding team. St. Thomas gets to the line the most. North Dakota State gets to the line the least. So these teams do things in vastly different ways.
But also end up with similar results.
Yeah. We have not talked a lot about North Dakota State this year, but Trevian Carson has been awesome. Damari Gillard-Thomas has been great. They have they have that win now over South Dakota State last night or 2 nights ago when they won by 11, and Carson had 14. They had 5 players in double digits. Trayson Anderson had 20. So I think this is going to be fun because you have kind of a similar spot to, I feel like, where we were at a point last year where St. Thomas was undefeated, and then it has a road game against kind of maybe the surprise undefeated team or so, because we had Omaha last year was 5-0 when they played St. Thomas at home. Now St. Thomas is going to be 4-0, and North Dakota State's going to be 5-0 in this game. I'm taking the Tommies. To go on the road and get it done. We talked about the Tommies a lot last night, if you want to get in on that. Any of the other games that you want to hit on here before we get out?
Looking through what you have here on the rundown, Arkansas State Troy is a good Sun Belt game to keep an eye on. I don't think I have anything else. I'm just gonna look through Fan Match real quick. Make sure we didn't.
I would like one more thing before we go.
Yeah, go.
Some conference stuff. What conference, Jonathan, so far has the highest home winning percentage?
Oh, you're quizzing me. It's trivia time. I will say, what conference has the highest home winning percentage?
It makes sense when you think about what this conference is.
My usual de facto answer is the Big Ten, just because I feel like nobody wins on the road.
The Big Ten is actually
that's not 25th. My answer. I just want to make that clear.
I'm just letting you know it's 25th.
I'm going to say CUSA, Conference USA.
You are correct.
It's just there's a ton of travel in that league.
Yep. 27 and home teams are 27-9. And like you could also devise that from the fact that like how many like decent teams there are in that league. and you know, like the spread of that league isn't crazy in terms of the KenPom ranks of the most of the league,
Right.
and you know that we've like there's not like a couple of teams that are just like way above it. What is the lowest home win percentage?
Let's think here. Ivy?
Ivy's only played 8 games and it's second last. Last is
That
the
was
A10.
close.
Last the A10. 12 and
my
21.
my next guess was going to be the America East. Where are they?
9 and 7, middle of the pack.
Okay. Like I was just thinking in terms of like what the conferences that are like, the Northeast bus trip conferences.
Okay, remember I'm looking once again at these. The MEAC and SWAC are the top 2 leagues in the country in terms of free throw rate by like a wide margin.
Okay.
And we are playing extremely ethical ball in the Metro Atlantic right now. The fewest foul shots out of any conference. Now, unfortunately, we are also
ethical ball or like horrible defense.
Unfortunately, we are also dead last in effective field goal percentage. We are 29th in tempo and 28th in efficiency. And we have not had a lot of close games either. We are 29th in close games right now. We've had a lot of blowouts. The MAC games themselves have not been particularly competitive this year, which is unfortunate.
It's fun to look at these conference trends.
It is. I agree. Anything else you would like on before we go?
Yeah, Murray State plays basketball this weekend. Watch and learn.
Yeah, basically nothing in terms of like big games in college basketball on Sunday. There is the Arizona State Houston game there in terms of a power conference game, and there's Penn State Maryland, but like those teams absolutely blow.
Dude, you're not pumped for FAU Temple?
I think we'll talk about it tomorrow night, like no doubt, because it's a big game.
Sunday is going to be a historic day in the group chat.
I mean, yeah, we have that game. We have Doug Gottlieb playing basketball or coaching basketball
against Greg Campy,
which is now his full-time job.
Yeah.
We have the Patriots playing a playoff game. We have the Bears playing a playoff game.
Penn State plays at Maryland.
Yeah, I don't think we talk about Penn State men's basketball.
Dude, we talk about them way more than you would think.
Probably more than many people do.
Dude, dude.
All right, Jonathan. I would also like to say I watched a good deal of the Texas-South Carolina women's game last night.
Okay.
Man, like just South Carolina winning that game, just gritty kind of win. Like it's a big one. Like that was just a huge game. It was South Carolina's only loss this year was against Texas at Players Era early in the year by 2 points. They now win at home against Texas. They do not play Texas again in the regular season. Do you know who South Carolina's next game is against, Jonathan, in women's basketball?
I do not.
Coppin State.
Is that serious?
I am dead serious.
Why is that taking place?
I don't know. Don probably thought, hey, Kim Mulkey plays these teams 15 times a year. Why don't I do it in January?
I just want to say that like the one women's basketball opinion I have right now until I, make up.
Is this about Audie Crooks?
No, it has nothing to do with her actually. I just think UConn is, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, UConn seems to be like miles ahead of everyone else.
I think a lot of people would push back on that because UConn plays in the Big East.
Played in the Big East. They've played in the Big East for how long? It didn't seem to stop them.
No, it's just because like there's other teams that are picking up like really, really impressive wins, and UConn just isn't right now. Like because they're not playing anyone good.
Who
But
do you think is good?
I think UConn's the best team in the country. Like I agree with you, but
Who
I
do
think
you say is like the second best team in the country?
UCLA.
Okay. Who do they have? Name me some of their players.
Lauren Betts.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, she's really good. They have the best offense in the country.
I think it's hilarious. By the way, I'm on Her Hoops for probably like the third time ever, and I think it's pretty funny. By the way, that like after all the debate that you and the great Jack Church had last year, like Sarah Strong's win shares is 4.9 and Michaela Blake's is 4.8.
No, those are probably like arguably two of like the 3 or 4 or 5 best players in the
No, because like didn't you guys have like many debates last year about who the best?
It was he said Michaela Blake's was the national freshman of the year,
and you said Sarah.
Not necessarily that she was a better basketball player than Sarah Strong.
Okay, interesting.
But I just wanted to say that Sarah Strong was always better in every way.
Wasn't Olivia Miles at Notre Dame last year?
Yes.
Okay.
Where are you on Her Hoops?
I'm looking at win share leaders.
Let's. This is fun. Like we should.
Okay.
This is a very
interesting.
North Dakota State and Richmond. I love Maggie Dugan's game. By the way, I watched some film on her last night just because I felt like I wanted to watch Maggie Dugan film for a little bit.
This is a very interesting website setup.
Yeah. Speaking of women's basketball, Syracuse triple overtime win against Cal last night.
What are we doing here, man?
Big weekend for women's hoops, by the way. UConn plays Notre Dame, Michigan plays Vanderbilt, Maryland plays UCLA, and yeah. Let's end it.
Yeah, that's a good amount of women's hoops talk.
Yeah,
come back when there's a bracket and I am just like making up opinions about things.
Oh man, I'm so excited for that.
Hey, I made some money last year off of UConn winning the national title. So,
yep.
We ready to close this out?
Yeah. All right.
What a show! If you came to hear about Tyler Self and where he's working, you came to the right place. If you came to hear about Summit League Spanish classes, you came to the right place. And if you came to hear about the latest happenings with Caleb Grill, you came to the right place. This has been Season 6, Episode 70 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Mid Steelers. We'll see you tomorrow night with Michael DeRosa for Saturday Night Live.